Hi, friends. This is Adam Shoemaker, rector here at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church in downtown Charleston, back for another edition of Rector's Corner. And I'm very happy to have with me today the Reverend Taylor Smith, who is currently serving as priest in charge at St. James Episcopal Church on James Island, one of our returning congregations. We're going to hear, as we did last month when I talked to Furman Buchanan, about Father Smith's ministry there. But first, we want to learn a little bit about him. Thank you so very much for joining me. I wonder, Taylor, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you were before you arrived here in the diocese.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about St. James. I am first and foremost a husband of 26 years and a father of two boys in their 20s, both of whom, as of this summer, will be living in Charleston. So we're very excited about that. I have been a priest for 26 years, and I was ordained in the Diocese of Western North Carolina. I grew up in Buffalo, but I have been south of the Mason-Dixon line really since 1983. So I've spent a lot of time farther south, but my accent doesn't betray that. Anyway, so I was, after serving a few churches as an assistant in Western North Carolina, I took my first call as rector in Maryland in 2000. And I served that church for 12 years. And following that, I served another church, not that far away, actually, in Maryland, for another 9 years. So I did 21 years in Maryland before coming to Charleston. We came here for my wife's job. She got an amazing job with Roper St. Francis. And so I came down and kind of dropped into the diocese without a job, unannounced, and introduced myself to the bishop. And long story short, I am now serving St. James, and it's a joy to be there. It's a lot of work, as we'll talk about, but it's a joy to be there.
Well, and as I acknowledged when I interviewed Father Buchanan, you have a very unique ministry serving one of our returning congregations, and I wonder if you could talk about some of your early experiences serving St. James.
Sure. I found out that I was going to be, was asked to serve St. James, and certainly jumped on board many months before I was announced. I mean, it was even before Callie was announced. So I kind of lived with that and watched what was going on. And the moment Callie was announced, she was the first one to be announced, Callie Walpole, of course. We had lunch together, and I kind of said, "So what are we doing?" And that's how we started. And then, some other folks came on board. I was in touch with Furman when he was still up in Greenville, because I thrive on collegiality and I need to know what other people are doing. So that all felt like, it was starting, even though it wasn't public yet. It was publicly announced probably about a month and a half before I started, and I started meeting with some parishioners. And these were folks who had been with the church when it was affiliated with the Acna Diocese, who wanted to meet me. And I'm happy to say I'll say but one, is still at St. James. So it was lovely to get to know them. We got the keys on December 1st, and our first service was on December 4th. So we kind of jumped in and got going. We were fortunate in that most of what we needed for Sunday mornings was there. I know that hasn't been the experience of all the other churches, but they had two services in two separate buildings, and I think that helped because they seemed to have an extra of everything. It was all decided in the legal negotiations beforehand who would get what, but so we were able to start worship pretty quickly. Without trouble. The first Sunday was absolutely amazing because so many Episcopalians from the region came out to support us. And then, of course, it dwindled as we got to just the people who would be the St. James congregation. We have about 50 people on a Sunday morning now, so it's really great. We are really busy with facilities, and right now, combination of normal priestly duties And facilities management is a lot of what I have under my belt.
Mhm.
I want to quickly add to that, though. I have both an amazing staff and some folks, some lay folks who are absolutely astoundingly helpful. And I could not do it without these folks. Every once in a while, I get to work from home and just do priestly things, and it's really nice. But in the meantime, we're dealing with facilities.
You know, St. James, I've been over there to visit the campus, and you've given myself and other clergy a tour. It's quite a large campus, and I imagine that must be a part of the challenge as you take leadership of St. James. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the size of the church.
Yeah, happy to. It is a big campus. The church itself, which is beautiful, built in 1959, but is the sixth church to stand there. This church goes back 300 years plus. Anyway, the church is beautiful. It was well maintained inside, but from there, the maintenance was much deferred. Even the front doors of the church, the paint's chipping off. But in addition to the church building, we have an administrative building to one side where we put our offices and whatnot as we try to create patterns that an office might have that one, say, might move into if there is already a functioning office there. But we're kind of creating those patterns as we go. And that building needs a lot of work. We're going to be able to redo the front offices so there will be attractive and welcoming space for people when they come in. On the other side is a more significant building. It is what the Anglican Church called the Ministry Center. We are in the process of changing that name because we feel like ministry goes on not just throughout the campus, but wherever we go as Christians. So we're going to broaden that out. We're going to call that the St. James Center and keep the name on it. It has a huge event space that could seat hundreds of people at tables. I believe the folks who know what they're doing with that kind of space are looking at trying to get tables and chairs for 300 people because we will market it as event space. It was one of the places they worshiped. It was, for those of us who know what it would look like, it was sort of like a mega church, maybe a small mega church, but had a stage and a lot of room for chairs and whatnot. And it is great space. As I say, we're going to market it to be event space. It's a marvelous space, for example, for wedding receptions and whatnot. We hope to have diocesan convention there. It has been in that space before, and we'd love to have that back. We're actually hoping to target 2024, so we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. However, it needs a lot of work. I don't know that the air conditioning was properly maintained. Well, I know it's in trouble now, but a lot of the wallpaper, almost every seam, the wallpaper is starting to curl back. The carpeting in that main event space is just really stained and ugly and desperately needs to be replaced before anyone would rent the space. The air conditioning needs to be completely fixed. A couple of the units on top of the building need to be replaced. And we are talking about an extraordinary amount of money, more money for repairs than I have ever faced in my ordained life. So those are some of the things we're looking at. They are challenges. I will admit, even though I maybe shouldn't, sometimes I am more focused on those challenges and I kind of get down about how much we have to do. But I can say I quickly turn around and recognize the potential because there is extraordinary potential in all of that property. And I think I have no doubt that we will make it successful. And I don't know that we will be worshiping in that event space anytime soon. With 50 people coming on Sunday mornings, we don't really have need for an extra service, an extra space yet, but it will be useful space. I will add that we are looking at the possibility of putting a couple showers in there so that it could be used when the weather is especially cold or when a hurricane is coming through for folks who are in need of shelter. That would also allow us to have youth events for the weekends, because we already have been talking about that. So there's just so much opportunity there. I will say we do have a fourth building that we don't really use. We rent it to a day school that in an odd circumstance is still really run by the ACNA congregation. They lease their building from us, and all we are is landlords. It is a separate 501c3, including separate from the ACNA church that preceded us. But there's really nothing we can do with an independent 501c3 who is simply a tenant to say, we want our people on the board of directors. However, we have talked to the board. I've gotten to know the chairman of the board pretty well. He's a great guy. And I am confident that the children are being well served, as are the families. So I've decided to take that off my concern. But that is a fourth building that we're responsible for. So it is a big campus. We also have an outreach center, which is not directly connected to St. James in any way. We rent them the space for $1 a year, and it really is a marvelous food pantry, very well run, quality people running it, and it serves a remarkably large portion of St. James folks who need the food. So that's kind of what's going on the campus. It is a lot. But so much potential.
Yeah. So much potential. So many possibilities that you could consider to leverage that campus for mission and ministry within the church and in the wider community. You've certainly ticked off a number of the challenges you're facing. I wonder, Taylor, if you could talk about, what your hopes are for St. James in the near term.
I hope and anticipate continuing to build that congregation. I feel like with 50 people after a couple months, 2.5 months, is a great place to be as a startup mission church, because despite that huge facility, we are essentially a mission. And we have a good mix of people coming in, folks who were there before ACNA came in and left, and they have come back. We have people who were there when the ACNA congregation was there who have stayed. And then we have new people who are just thrilled that there is an Episcopal church back on James Island. So I really hope to anticipate anticipate growth in the congregation. I find I was asked recently where my joy is in this, and it really is on Sunday mornings, worshiping with a great crowd of kind and loving people. And I think we're going to continue to do that. Following that, once we can get those buildings repaired, and I think we will be able to, despite the high price tags, we're finding resources. I think that ministry center will be an active, vibrant place. I do hope it can function a little bit as an event center that will support itself, but also the opportunities, as we've mentioned, for various ministries will really be fantastic. So I do have big dreams. Mostly I want to fill the pews with people who are disciples of Jesus Christ and seeking a relationship with God, and we're on our way.
Well, and I'm so grateful, Taylor, as a part of the diocese, that you said yes to this ministry, and you're certainly not alone in that. And I wonder what you think are some tangible ways that we at St. Stephen's and we in the larger diocese can be supportive of you and the congregation there.
Well, let me start by saying we have already received tremendous support. When we were first starting up, the cathedral was doing things like our bulletins. They were lending us things we needed for worship. St. Stephen's has been extraordinarily helpful. I had the distinct joy while I was not working for a while, as you know, of worshiping at St. Stephen's, and people have really stepped up to help out. And they are still stepping up to help out. We still have people who come to serve on Sunday mornings if we need a reader or somebody to do a chalice, things like that. St. Stephen's is still very much present there, and we are so grateful. Going forward, I think it will be helpful sometime to have a work day. If we can get a diocesan work day, folks from the diocese who want to help St. James get back on its feet, and I know there are people out there who do. It's a little daunting to organize because we have to figure out a way to separate out what we'd like to keep. And then there is a lot of junk that was left behind when we arrived. So we need that to go somewhere. I don't want to be wasteful because some of it might be usable somewhere, but it's very hard with the volume that we have to separate it all out and, okay, well, these few things might be good at a school and these few things might be good somewhere else. We want to do that as best as we can. We do not want to be wasteful, but we're going to need a lot of help with that. So I'm not quite ready to ask for that help yet, but I know the diocese will step up. And so many of the clergy in the diocese have been helpful to me. As I said earlier, I really thrive on collegiality. I am not somebody, I'm really an extrovert. And so I think out loud, which isn't always helpful at vestry meetings, but I think out loud, and to do that with other clergy is really helpful for me. And to take other people's ideas and try to make them flourish where we are. I will also, while this isn't a diocesan thing particularly, I look forward to having things like officers and vestry members and things like that. Right now, I am, as we've noted, kind of over my head in facility stuff that I am used to a junior warden and a vestry handling, and I can show up and they can tell me what they planned, and I can say, that's great, looking forward to it. And I could not do it without the help of Georgie Scover, who actually came to us from you and who still worships with you periodically. So thank you for Georgie. But she has been actually the one handling the bids and the contractors coming through. And I was joking that I now have two saviors. I have my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I have Georgie. So now, and I want to add, there are other people who are being very helpful. I will name Steve Johnston and Yvonne Jordan. They have been extraordinarily helpful in everything. So so we're getting a lot of help, but yeah, the biggest one may be the diocesan workday. And I don't know when we'll be ready for that, but I'm confident that people will come.
Sure. Georgie is you've hired a parish administrator, and
She is our parish administrator, yes.
You also now have a part-time organist, right? Okay.
We do, and I will say that David Friddle is our organist. He is Juilliard trained. He has doctorates in both organ and in choral direction. He is already building a choir. He has a concert series in place. So once a month, we are doing concerts with various kinds of music. We had our first one this past Sunday. We'll try to make public through the diocesan newsletter when those are. I'd love to have people come out. We're not charging, and the music's been great. So we still have 3 of them left this spring. And so we're getting the word out, but David has been instrumental in all that. And he is just doing a great job. It is a joy to serve with him and to worship with his support.
Well, and certainly sharing events that are happening at St. James is something that not just the diocese can do, but we can do for those of us who are not far away from you. But if folks are wanting to find more information about St. James, do you have a website up and running? Are you present yet on social media?
We are, although I'm going to say the best way to get information is to come on Sunday morning and ask us. We'll tell you. But yes, we do have a website. It is St. James Episcopal JI, for James Island, of course, .org. And we do have a presence on Facebook and Instagram. So all of that information of what's going on is available on those sites.
Terrific.
So yeah, people can find out.
Okay. Well, Taylor, thank you for making the time for this conversation. And again, thank you for saying yes to the ministry, having come here from another diocese and having jumped in with both feet into what is effectively a startup kind of a ministry. It's a big deal, and it's a big deal for the diocese. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You certainly are in our prayers. Thank you to those who've taken the time to listen to this conversation. I'll be back next month for another edition of Rector's Corner. In the meantime, friends, you stay safe and well. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.